All right, everyone, we start off this morning with some breaking news. This is in the last half hour, actually. Rand Paul deciding to make a morning announcement. He had teased it out yesterday, saying, well, something big is coming. Stay tuned for tomorrow. He's a little bit of a showman at times. He's pretty good at this. And Rand Paul's word carries some degree of weight in politics. He's a relatively popular senator. He has a lot of independent fans, actually, so among independent voting blocks, if you got some leverage over them, your endorsement means something. Somehow this means more, though. Link in the description. Rand Paul coming out and unendorsing Nikki Haley, unveiling hashtag Never Nikki, and then actually creating a website dedicated to defeating her. This is more important than if he had chosen to endorse a candidate. And it wasn't going to be Nikki Haley. I mean, we know that politically speaking, there's no way they could possibly align. I don't think that Rand Paul would even support her if she became nominee. Honestly, I think that he would still be hashtag Never Nikki and say, look, what the fuck do you want me to do? Number one, she's not going to win. Number two, if she were to win, how would the policies be demonstrably different from Joe Biden's on many key issues? And that indeed is the case. She is the neocon within the field. So this actually matters more. Everyone was expecting an endorsement. And of course, I believe that Rand Paul in the end will be on the Trump train. Ron DeSantis no longer has a chance. And while Vivek Ramaswamy is someone who I think ideologically would align, at least in word, in principle, with much of what Rand Paul talks about, I think that it's inevitable that Trump will be nominee. And this is just another brick in the wall preventing Nikki Haley from surmounting that in any way. In Iowa, Donald Trump will win. We know this. The polling all consistently shows him above 50. It shows him with more than a 30-point gap over his nearest opponent, which is now Haley, not DeSantis, actually. So he's won that. The only starting state in which Trump looks to be vaguely vulnerable, and I still think that he wins in New Hampshire, is there, because Nikki Haley is riding higher, much higher than her national average there. She's gained traction. With the departure of Chris Christie from the field, of course, the assumption is that many of his voters are never Trump, and that closes the gap further. But the polling is all over the place. You have one poll, you'll have two polls in the same day. One will show Nikki Haley 25 points behind, the other one shows her 8 points behind. I don't know what to make of New Hampshire polling, and I'd really like a lot more of it before we get any expectations for how that race goes. Iowa, I've already called it. That's going to go for Trump. And that gives him a boost. This gives him a boost too, because instead of endorsing, if he endorses Trump, let's say Rand Paul comes out and says, yeah, I'm on the Trump train, he's the candidate, then people can bitch about him interfering with the primary process or something like that. By not doing so, and instead saying there's one particular candidate that I find uniquely unpalatable in this field, the rest of you are all great guys, but this one particular bitch I could never vote for. That aims the firepower rather in a more concentrated manner. So again, breaking news. We have Rand Paul's big announcement, and I love it. So he's crushed Nikki Haley. Actually, let me read out what he posted in part here, if I can actually get the link. Whoops, I probably should have already had it brought up. I'll read a little bit of this verbatim for people who would rather not have to scroll. I've been watching the GOP primary closely for a while now, and I like various aspects of several candidates. Republicans like President Donald Trump, Governor Ron DeSantis, and Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm interested in the ideas of some independents too, such as Robert Kennedy Jr. An attempt to sap his vote as well. By the way, this is shenanigans. Kudos to you, Rand. I know what you're doing. As I look over the field, I don't think I yet have a first choice. He does, secretly. But I do know one thing. Count me in as hashtag Never Nikki. Based on her record in campaign, I don't see how any thoughtful or informed libertarian or conservative should vote for Nikki Haley. If you agree, let your voice be heard. Go to nevernikki.net and today we can let her and everyone else know she doesn't have your support. If you're unsure, keep reading and following. And he then goes on to talk about her warmongering, personally receiving millions of dollars from arm merchants, giving tax dollars to the same merchants, and they showered her with campaign contributions, and on and on and on. So there's a mega thread there, link in the description if you want to read all the way through that. I'm not going to read it all out. I love it. This is a strategic move by Rand Paul, a very shrewd one. He's unimpeachable on paper, other than by Haley's small fan base. Nobody else is going to bitch about it. They'll be laughing at Nikki Haley. And then right again at the 11th hour, and draining, by the way, the news cycle with regards to Chris Christie, who prophesied that Nikki Haley was going to get smoked. I think that this is probably part of that effort. That concentrated firepower means a lot more than simply buffing up Donald Trump by endorsing him. I think that this is a big win for our republic also, because Nikki Haley is the only one up there that would be particularly dangerous to our functioning system. We know how Trump will govern, does a good job. While I disagree with DeSantis on several policies, by and large, he is a sane individual. At the very least, he's called out Nikki Haley on her warmongering too, and he's definitely not woke with regards to immigration. That's always a bonus, considering the migrant crisis being so bad. Ramaswamy, I've said, is a plant, but he's not viable, so he's a non-entity for all intents and purposes. And I like still how some Ramaswamy fans are pretending that he has the capability of winning a state. He's not going to. You may be taken in by his polished and shined behavior. I do like it when he reams the legacy media, but I also know what he's doing as well. I think Rand probably is awake to that fact also. So this is a stunning moment. We've got a non-endorsement that's currently trending, and congratulations to Rand Paul. He got everyone all hip to it. They're like, oh my God, he's going to endorse someone tomorrow. And then he decides instead to take a crap on Nikki Haley. I can't think of anyone in the GOP field more deserving. I mean, basically, it's like the female version of Mitch McConnell is running. So he's got like 12 points of support. I don't understand why Nikki Haley has any legs at all. But again, I've pointed out, having been familiar with New Hampshire, the state I was born in, the voting public there is a little bit different from most states. We Northern New Englanders aren't entirely normal. You may have noticed this. I mean, you got Stephen King in Maine. You've got me in Vermont. You've got the juxtaposition between an increasingly blue state currently stumping for Nikki Haley, while at the same time having Porkfest and like the Free State movement. So, yeah, a little bit odd. Thank you, Rand. Real cool. That's about all. Peace out.